connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is a greater calling and how that greater calling can invite us into the fullest expression of our essential being. So it should be a fun conversation. But before we get started, let's just take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now, as you take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it, this time imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling as you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us. We're talking about a greater calling. I think that it's very easy for us to get very wrapped up in our lives in a multitude of ways, not only with the doingness that we're called upon um, to keep up with in life, all the tasks and chores and responsibilities and obligations, but what happens often is that we have way too many opportunities to be self-critical, to be um, judging ourselves, to be evaluating ourselves and our performance and our limitations and noticing those limitations, being constrained by them. And one of the biggest catalysts that I've experienced in my life and that I've witnessed in other people is when we take on a purpose, a mission that is greater than ourselves, that calls us into becoming an expression of our greater selves, that calls us into becoming more than we imagined ourselves to be. So, for example, when we take on a sense of purpose and mission, we're likely to rise to certain expressions that we wouldn't otherwise have risen to, like to be willing to be visible, to be on stage, or to speak out publicly about whatever it is, where if we were left to our own devices, we would never step in front of a camera or an audience, for example. But in service to a mission, what happens is that those personal insecurities and and vulnerabilities are overcome, or we have a greater capacity to overcome those fears. It's not necessarily that the fear disappears, but it becomes less relevant. Rather than the fear being the decision making guiding factor, it becomes something that we go beyond in order to serve this greater purpose. It's it's somewhat magical, so I know for myself, for years I was deeply, deeply tortured from, or tortured myself with lack of meaning, with lack of a purpose or mission, and just would tearfully pray for a sense of what I was meant to do here. Like, what is this all about? And what am I doing here? And the discovery, the pursuit and discovery of a sense of purpose and mission changed everything and gave me the courage to show up in ways that I wouldn't otherwise show up. So just these convenings in the mornings, for instance, I'm not a self-promotion person, but sharing beingness, sharing consciousness, sharing in our journey together on toward in a path of awakening is something that is greater than me. It's more important than whatever shyness, for instance, I might have. Good morning, Dido. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. So, we're talking about a greater calling and how, when we define that, when we identify it, when we commit to it, that greater calling calls us beyond the self that we know ourselves to be, the small self. It calls us to live into this bigger self that we know, well, we might not even know that we're capable of living into, but it's there as an invitation. And it's a requirement, in fact, in order to be able to up level our expression and our service. So I think maybe what we're talking about in terms of a greater calling is stepping into service, stepping into serving something greater than ourselves. And while that may feel like a daunting prospect, it's actually something that, when we give ourselves over to it, it gives us our lives. It gives us greater resilience. It gives us greater potential. It gives us greater fulfillment. It gives us strength to wake up in the morning and take action when that purpose is a purpose from the heart. And so this brings me back to the conversation around our gifts and the gifts that we're given. If we have a gift of artistry, if we are musicians or artists, or we have a gift of incredible imagination and can have a gift of story, or a gift of love, or a gift of mothering or fathering, or a gift of communication. we all have gifts that we came here with. Discovering those gifts and recognizing then that those gifts aren't for us to keep. Those gifts are for us to give away. Like, we're given our gifts to share them in the world, not to apologize for them, not to stifle them, not to minimize them because our gifts make us better in certain in a better performing in certain areas than other people. We're given our gifts to share them, whatever they are. And it doesn't have to be something that looks world changing either, whatever those gifts are. It just means that in coming into our fuller expression of who we are, I mean, some people have gifts of leadership, some people have gifts of being able to juggle all kinds of things, to manage all different situations. People have gifts with numbers, there are all kinds of gifts that we have. And to find a place where those gifts are expressed is part of our, I believe, part of our mission. And not as a burdensome responsibility, but as a joy to express those gifts, to share those gifts, as a fulfillment in itself, to be able to go beyond ourselves, go beyond the limits of our insecurities, to go beyond our the constraints we might put on ourselves in our own lives without that. So it's as we step into our gifts, as we step into our mission and purpose, when it's aligned, what happens is we get a greater vitality, a greater sense of expression. We are able to overcome our fears. We will do things for a mission and purpose that we would never do for ourselves. And so there's deep empowerment in that. And as we fulfill those desires and drives and passions that are an essential part of our gift and an essential part of the fulfillment of our mission and purpose, our lives become greatly enriched. And it's simple. It's so simple. It's not easy necessarily, but it's simple. And in fact, it's often pretty challenging. But the fact that it is so deeply resonant with our heart and soul, the fact that it is so deeply aligned with our essential being, it becomes a vehicle to even more fully express ourselves. And we are each unique beings. We each came here, in my vantage point, try it on. It feels right to me, and it also empowers me in my life. So try it on and see if that is your experience. But in serving something greater, I believe that we each came here with a unique purpose. And it may be to love, it may be to heal our families, it may be to do something, to create some kind of world-changing invention. It doesn't really matter the degree. It's not just the people who make it into media fame who are the ones making contributions. it could be mission and purpose to raise a family. It could be mission and purpose to champion animals or to just spread love. Like that's not a lesser purpose in any way, shape, or form. But to find that purpose, to identify it for ourselves, and to have a willingness to live into it, it acts as a North Star. It acts as a compass by which we can course correct. And what I've noticed for myself anyway, it's given me a greater grace with myself as well, where I can be more forgiving, where I can be less critical, because it's not about me. It's about what I serve and how best I can serve it. And to be reconnecting again and again with that purpose when I find myself straying, when I find myself spiraling, even to come back to that sense of purpose. It becomes a touchstone, a North Star guiding, and a touchstone providing a foundation. And whether we make it up or whether we're actually excavating it from our heart and soul, the value of that purpose in creating the quality of our lives and the potentials and the capacity and the capability and the opportunities that arise in service to that mission or purpose. It takes us into experience and realms and opportunities that we may not ever have otherwise imagined. And so I invite you to explore your gifts and to explore your purpose. Dido says, Dido and I have worked together for years, and Dido says, I want to thank you, Mira, for encouraging me, reminding me, and even holding my feet to the fire to support me in expressing my calling. You're right. It's simple, but not always easy to do that. But my calling truly does resonate with me. Dido, just you are such a deep inspiration to me. You have such a profound gift to share with the world. And remembering that, I think what happens is we recognize, we may have a glimpse of recognizing a gift, and we think, oh my gosh, that's my ego. I'm getting carried away with myself, thinking I'm so important, and um I feeling like this is something worthy or valuable. And we need to get over that, because by staying in that place, and I'm not saying you are, Dido, you're going beyond it, you're actually embracing it, which is a beautiful thing. Staying in that place of, who am I to express this? Who am I to, am I good enough? Am I worthy? It's not about us. When we allow it to be about the gift and stop with the am I worthy and am I good enough and being embarrassed and being self-effacing, when we step into service to that gift and to that purpose and our calling, that gives us everything. It gives us everything. As we serve it, it gives us our lives. and it gives us the vehicle for our service to the world. And that is a level of fulfillment that takes us into a different quantum dimension than all the considerations and concerns of a life where we're just putting one foot in front of the other. And the thing is that we have these gifts and we don't prioritize them so often in our lives. We say, okay, I love doing that, but I'm going to wait till later. I'm going to wait till I retire. I'm going to wait till I make however much money. I'm going to wait till this obligation is gone. Where in fact, these gifts are preeminent drivers in life. They're our preeminent purpose. They are calling for reverence. They're calling for recognition through the time that we invest in them. And they, rather than being the last thing that we try to make time for, they need to be prioritized. They need to be given the importance that they have in terms of our contribution, and making the space for that expression not only serves us, but it serves the world. And it serves as we serve the world, really, truly, like telling magnificent, transformative stories transforms the world. How we are, and Dido, you are a spectacular writer and an incredible, you have such an incredibly vivid mind and connection to this liminal realm of magic that calls us into, as individuals present to that magic, experiencing those stories, calls us into greater expression and awareness. And so that gift is such a profound contribution. All of our gifts, if we could only realize, that our gifts and passions are what we came here to share, it would be such a different planet. It would be such, I mean, we would take better care of the planet, probably, and we would connect more deeply with one another and with life itself. And when I talk about mission and purpose, it's not about, it's my mission to have a big, beautiful house and a wonderful family and however many kids and pets, and like that's incidental, because what it the things, I'm stuttering here, the things are symbols that we have made into the primary objective, when it's not the things that give us the fulfillment, it's the fulfillment that fills the things, that provides the meaning to the things. So getting the house, it's not the house, it's the comfort and the joy and the expression that is the reward. And we may love the place. Well, that, because that's an expression. It's an expression of something inside. And when we live more closely to that expression, we experience the greater fulfillment. And the things that are the symbols of those things, of that fulfillment, shift in their importance, like where we can enjoy them, but we don't have to be owned by them. We don't have to be possessed by them. because the purpose, the sense of purpose, the sense of fulfillment, the sense of contribution, the sense of service, all of that is what enriches us from the inside out. So that's it for today. Something, a greater calling, and connecting with a greater calling that deeply resonates and is aligned with our essential being. That's the greatest gift we can give ourselves and give the world. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it is such a deep pleasure and privilege to have the opportunity to muse together and experience together this walk of being human. So until next time, so much love to you.